It's live.
We're live. Hey guys, it's me, Anais, and joining me is Lilian Oake, a fantastic writer of
Well, thank you.
fantasy. Yes, you are very welcome. That is wonderful to read for people of all ages, from children to little old people would love to read her work.
I would love to know some little old people really who I know two actually. I know two older people who have read them and I've also said the same things.
See, I know that we've got to broaden your audience, take it to an old folks home and see what's happened.
I could do that. I'm good with people.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk to you first about the insane success about Nataya. That is one of your stories that you had on Wattpad, first of all, and was seen by millions of people. Isn't that right? So
Yes.
can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that started, I guess Wattpad at the time was somewhat new, or I guess they were up for only a couple years and they weren't really that well known yet. And I reached out to some people behind the scenes who were, I guess, trying to bring in more of an audience themselves. And they suggested that I write something exclusively for them, something that I would update every week with a new chapter. And I said, okay, I can do that. And I really just literally signed up for it with absolutely no idea what I was going to write, what it was going to be about. I just sort of jumped into it blindly and had a really good success with it. It was, I mean, from the first chapter, I would sit there and stare at the screen for, a good couple hours and wonder what in the world I was going to be, what kind of characters I would even have or what they would even be doing. I had actually no plot for that story up until probably I think, fourth or fifth chapter. I didn't really understand myself what I was really going to be writing about. But once it sort of, really cleared up, then I jumped into it. And it went really quick after that. So
That is just insane to me. Like,
yeah,
exciting and insane. But you can't tell. I've been reading Nataya and you can't tell that you didn't know what you were doing.
well, that's the good thing. I mean, when I think about how long it really took me to realize what kind of plot I was even going with, I mean, once it hit me, I was able to sort of think back to the beginning of the story and say, oh, well, that's where it started.
Right.
So then I was able to really go back and sort of feed off of that from the beginning, which was a big help. But yeah, that was back then. It was Nataya, a fairy's tale, and now it's Nataya, a Jadurian adventure. So I decided to. I mean, it's been up there since 2010 was when I wrote it, and decided to throw it out in print because I mean I still am actually getting almost daily messages about it from Wattpad readers and people asking,
Wow.
when it would be actually in print and everything.
Yeah.
And I figured, well, why not? I'd throw out what I have, what, as I call it, the Wattpad edition,
Right.
unedited, really, just sort of taken straight from Wattpad and thrown into print. But I do plan on actually editing that and turning it into a more professional version of the book. So that might happen maybe by the end of this year. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really cool thing to do and very modern. You know, if we look back to other authors, especially indie authors in the 20s, who were
Mm-hmm.
laying their own books down and then they had different versions later on when they were able to afford it. It's kind
Yeah.
of like the modern version of that. And I think it's really neat to be able to see the earlier version and then, later on as it developed. And now you're
Yeah.
creating this whole world, you know. So I would love to actually hear more about your world because you did change the title to reflect it. So what kind of creatures are you going to meet there?
Well, the world is called Jadur, and it is actually I started it with my best friend back in middle school. It had a different name back then. But I guess the skeleton of the story is still sort of the same. The different races and everything. We started out with about 12, well, with 12 main races, and the rest of them were just sort of less, I guess, lesser known, or not really, paying that much attention to those races. But we have, I mean, most of the traditional fantasy creatures, elves, dragons, fairies, dwarves. I like to keep it to the traditional sense of what most people know when they hear dwarf or when they hear elf. They have the general idea of, I guess, the cliched version of the races and everything. But I do that because it's a younger audience, and I kind of like the idea that readers don't really have to really remember too much. I mean, they come into the story, they're familiar with the races already, so they're sort of able to jump into the adventure that way. I mean, I do have, things that they're going to have to remember, things they're going to, have to sort of learn throughout. Like, I'm actually creating my own Elvish language, and my own, evil language, for the all the bad guys. But yeah, I guess besides all the traditional ones, I have things like ornitrees and dryads. They're two different things. I mean, obviously they're both trees, but dryads can actually they can't move because they're rooted to the ground, but they can speak. Ornitrees can't speak, but they can walk and move around. Ornitrees are older, really, than most dryads in it. I have my nymphs, which I'm excited really to share about those. Well, I get excited because I see it so clearly in my head. I wonder how clear it's really going to come out to readers. But where I guess the real difference with them is they're water nymphs, and underwater they look like a person is literally, they're swimming underwater or something. When they come out of the water, they sort of look like a silhouette made out of water. So it's really the opposite of I guess what anybody would I guess expect. Some of the main one of the main characters, his name is Arkai. He's I'm still trying to work this part out of whether his kind is really a race. He's not an elf, he's not a human, he's just a being, is what he says throughout the story. He's a bodyguard to the 4 goddesses that created the world. I guess for our world, he would look like an archangel or something, but he's kind of a jerk. So, but that sort of comes because he's someone who's really, his whole entire existence has been just to protect these 4 girls, and he failed at one point, and that's where the story begins, is that 2 of the voices are being replaced, basically. And he takes that hard, really, for himself, but that makes him kind of a jerk. And so his whole story is basically, I mean, there's the 2 main characters. Is the real main character, Kaya, she's an elf, and then he's got his it's a pretty strong, I guess, subplot to the whole thing. But I'm blabbering here. I'm trying to.
But I'm enjoying it so much. There's going to be dryads and all kinds of the things that I love. Nymphs. Oh, I love nymphs.
Yeah, I mean, there's I mean, a little bit of everything, really. Giants and minotaurs and ogres, trolls. Just a little bit of everything. But I try to give it my own little quirk here and there, at least to separate it from obviously every other fantasy out there.
Right. I think the characters do, because they have so many little quirks, and they're so fun. And it's like when I'm reading with Natalia, she's so naughty, and and you can't help but like that. You like it. It's not, even when she's doing something that's wrong and you see that it's wrong, she's not doing it from a vengeful place or with anger
Yeah.
in her heart. So you can appreciate that because, well, I can appreciate it because I make mistakes like that. So
Yeah, the funny thing with that, actually, in the first version of the story, when I was first writing Nataya, they all called her Naughty because it's there in her name,
yeah, yeah,
N-A-H-T, and they would just add the Y at the end, and that was just sort of her nickname. But
nice.
I decided just to sort of, go throughout the story, keep it easier for everybody to not have to, I guess, jump back and forth between
Right.
Naughty and Nataya. But it's
Yeah,
funny that you had said that.
it is funny. And she totally is though, so I can see why you would have done that. And I came up with that.
Yeah.
So you're pretty right on with
Yes.
that. Which did you find yourself really relating to her? Because when I was reading that, I did a lot. So did you find yourself relating to that character of she so strongly wants to have her independence, even when it's really in her best interest to, allow somebody to help her. She just, "Oh, I really want my independence, so I'd rather do it by myself." And I really relate to that. And it's something that, I've struggled with is that you have to
Well, I'm glad to hear that,
do that.
actually. I'm glad to hear that somebody else would relate to her, really. When I think about it over the years, I started sort of relating myself to her, but more in the, personality-wise more than
Right.
anything. Just, being really extroverted and kind of loud and obnoxious sometimes and, really dumb humor. I mean, she's throughout the story makes, dumb jokes that she laughs at herself because she
Right.
finds herself funny. And, there's just, I feel like as the years went by, I was able to sort of see, oh, well, I put that part of myself really in there.
Right.
But it's fun hearing from someone else saying that they relate to her, really, especially from you,
Yeah.
knowing you for, I mean, even for what has been a year, 2 years now that
Right.
you've known you.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing for me, really, that anybody could really, I guess, really pull that much out from her. That means I did my job there.
Yeah, I think that you did. Definitely. That's one of the most impressive parts to me is the character development. Um, so yeah. The next thing that I kind of wanted to talk to you about is the recently published book that you did, The Harvesters, and you did that with your partner in crime, Joshua Robertson, who writes
Hmm.
dark fantasy. And I read it, and it was darker than what you usually write. So I was wondering how that collaboration happened and where you guys are going with that. Do you have plans for that series? Do you like going a little bit darker?
Well, that was really sort of on a whim. We were sitting there on the sofa talking about what's been selling lately, and talk about
Mm,
sci-fi is out there more right now. It's clearly not my home genre, as I call it,
right.
but it is fun. Yeah, it's a little darker. I have a few stories that I will try to be publishing over the next couple of years that I had started several years ago, but just really now sort of got to go into these stories and sort of flesh them out. So I will be having a couple things that will be more towards NA, new adult, rather than young adult and middle grade. Um, but no, the Harvesters, that was fun. That we do have somewhat of a plan for a series. Not
Yeah,
entirely sure when we'll continue on with that. Right now, I'm trying to focus on J-Dur. I'm trying to get the my own series really started with the full
right.
novel. At least the first one of that series coming out this year. So I think once things sort of die down with our own projects, then we'll jump back into the Harvesters.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's good to kind of have something up for a while and then,
Yeah,
instead of maybe barraging it.
exactly.
So we kind of touched on it a little bit before, but is there a character that you have written that you did relate to the most?
My main character from the J-Door series was when I first started writing it, heavily based on myself.
Mm-hmm.
The best friend of the main character was based off of my best friend then, Emily, who we created the world together. I mean, clearly I've changed since middle school.
Of course.
But back then it was really a lot of my high school self, my attitude towards life, my more self-conscious personality that I, suddenly one year decided, well, forget that. I'm going to be an extrovert from now on. I'm going to, be a different person for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And I really did change a lot of who I was, just because I decided to.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what that series really is the main character going through and changing the darker parts of herself to become somebody better in life, in two worlds, really, in the real world, in our modern day world, and the fantasy world, because it's a multi-dimensional story.
Cool.
And so, I mean, now, like I said, I'd probably relate more with Nataya, just personality-wise.
Yeah.
But back then, I mean, or I guess for many years, it was really just Kaya from the J-Door series coming. So.
Yeah. That's cool. How much do you still work with Emily, or have you kind of kept that world and she's moved on to other things?
She's moved on. Right now, I still I share everything with her. Really, I mean, if something, especially when I was first started writing the series, I was just sharing a lot of the one of the secondary characters who's based off of her, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if something, if I thought I wrote something funny that really came out as something that would sound like Emily would say, I'd, call her up, or, I'd text it to her or something to really get her feedback or something, or just to gauge her reaction, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, we haven't really talked about it so much recently. She knows that, I've got this series going, and that, I mean, I've changed the name and everything. But I mean, really, anytime, we're on the phone for long periods of time, or, I'm visiting or she's visiting or something, we're always going back to that, because it was a big deal for us, going through that period of life, trying to figure out who we were and, what kind of people we wanted to be and everything. And that was just kind of a fun thing for us to sort of, if we could, create our own place, if we could go to our own world, what would we make it like? What would it look like and everything? So, but yeah, lately, not so much talking about that, but I imagine as I jump back into the series, I'll be making a lot more phone calls to her again.
Right. It's interesting. The parts that you keep from yourself when you're young, and
yeah,
you keep changing. Yeah. The other thing that you have going on is the Goblin Horde, and that you have a YouTube channel with Joshua Robertson.
Uh-huh.
Can you believe that I just blundered his name?
You could say it again. You're gonna be if you're gonna edit.
Nope, no editing. Going with it. Anyway, you have the Goblin Horde with him, and you have all of these goblins, and I'm a little pink. Yes. So I would love to hear about the Goblin Horde.
Well, that started with us blending our families. I came into this with 4 kids. He's got 5. We have 6 total living with us, full time. And it's just really a fun way for us to get out and do things together. And it's really an awesome way to help, kids grow up and understand really how important it really is to actually, stay together and have each other's backs and everything. Even when we're doing fun challenges where we're kind of against each other, we put the kids against each other or something. But it's just a fun way for us to get out, share, I guess, the nerdier parts of life that I've always been I always had that nerdy side to me of whatever superheroes or books and fantasy and all that. And it's is something that I feel like has really made, I guess, a big difference in my life and helped me become who I really am and see the world the way that I do. And why not pass that on to the kids? And as they get older, if they, are not into it or something, then so be it. They'll move on and do their own thing and be boring, and I'll keep going and doing my my nerdy thing. But it's been fun. We've kind of we've been getting a lot of questions, especially at the kids' schools. We're having their friends coming and asking when the next video is coming. We're gonna be trying to be a little more active with it again. We've sort of just retreated to our writing caves, trying to get our projects done. But it's definitely not over, so we'll be back with that.
That's awesome. I think that at least when I was growing up, I had a lot of brothers and sisters, and people were fascinated, and they'd be like, what's it like to have 7 brothers and sisters? I don't know. That's just how it is. So I think that it is something that people are interested in, and to watch 2 people with all of these crazy youngins running around.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an adventure.
Yeah, it is. Like
the foam swords, they're important.
Yeah.
Those foam swords are not going anywhere. We're keeping those. Those are important things. If we didn't if we didn't have those, it'd have to be fireballs. So we're keeping it.
Yep. We used to have to run around the house as many times as we were old when we were bad.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah. And I remember I would be so mad about it. You start off, you're like, 5, and 5 times around the house. Oh my God.
That was a big deal when you're 5 years old.
Right. But by the end of it, then you're laughing, you're having a good time, you forgot what you did, and then you tire yourself out. It's kind of genius.
Yeah, I didn't get that. We had if we were in trouble, we had to go, stay on our knees on the tiles with our arms in the air.
Oh,
until
no.
Our parents told us that was enough. But there's no laughing. There was no forgetting what we did wrong.
Oh God, yeah. There's a lot of ways to punish one. There's a lot of ways. Foam swords, though.
Yes.
I think that you just gotta work out all the aggression.
That's what we're keeping.
Yep. So do you guys, I know you were talking about releasing your book hopefully this year. Do you have any new books that we should watch out for, and what are their titles? Do you know what their title is going to be? Kind of time frame?
Well, right now. Well, right before the first book of the Voices of Jadur is coming out, right now I'm working on The Dragon Cager, which is something that I started writing several years ago. Again, I worked on it with an editor from Scholastic, and I sort of, I guess I was really intimidated by a lot of the changes that I had to do, and a lot of what I guess wasn't going in the right direction with the story. Yeah. And so I just kind of put it on the back burner for years. And I just sort of jumped back into it, reread the letter from the editor and everything, and looked at all the changes again, and I'm thinking, well, that's really not that big of a deal.
Right.
And so that right, I mean, it's finished from beginning to end. There are a few big changes that I'm making throughout the book, so I'm not entirely sure when that would release. Hopefully not too long. Definitely this year. Early this year, hoping for. But that's actually one of my stories that does not take place in Jadur. It's just an alternate, England in the 1800s with dragons. Awesome. And mountains. Apparently there are no mountains in England, and I get so much trouble over that. But
it's fantasy England.
Exactly.
Neil Gaiman had fantasy England.
Yeah, see, there you go.
All that stuff going on in the London Underground, but
exactly. See, thank you.
Who tells him no?
But it's it's more, I guess, that one's going to be, I'm still deciding if I'm going to have it new adult or adult.
Right.
It's, it's got a lot of romance, not
Mhm.
romance, but romantic real
Romantic
aspects
elements.
to it, really.
Mhm.
That's not the focus of the story.
Right.
It is a part of, bigger part of the story. But I mean, it's something I imagine still, some, teenagers will be perfectly fine to read or,
Mhm.
whatnot. But
Yeah.
it's, I'm, I want to say, I want to go into what the plot would be, but at this point, I'm changing so many things. I can't say one thing and think, that maybe within the next 2 hours of editing, oh, wait, maybe this would be a better plot to focus
Yeah.
on.
I understand. I understand completely.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been sharing, little, snippets and everything. I'm starting to put it out there, so once it gets closer to actually, release day, people will recognize, that wait, I've
Mhm.
seen this, title around, or I've seen, this name around. So I'm definitely starting to share it with a little more confidence that it's going to be done soon.
Awesome. And since it is going to be the new adult and young adult that you're thinking, it's probably not going to be with Scholastic anymore, huh? Or you're not
Well,
going
no,
to be.
it was just an editor from
Okay,
Scholastic. I mean, they didn't accept it or anything.
but you were
But
working with one
I was,
somehow.
yes.
Let's not diminish your. No, we're not
Oh
going to
no,
do
I'm
that
not
because that's still
diminishing
awesome.
anything. I'm
No, we
very,
can't do
very
that.
happy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's something I definitely take pride in. So
You
I mean, and
should.
she's been awesome. I mean, working with me and everything. So I do plan on hitting her up for some other projects after this.
Yes, yes, that is good to hear. Okay, well, I would love to know where we can find you with all your social media, and that way they can see the little tidbits that you're putting out for your book and get all excited, just like I do.
Yes, yes. Stalk me. On I would say I'm most active on Facebook. I do have a Facebook author page, but I'm still more active on my actual page. I'm trying to sort of I guess share my posts onto the author
Right,
page too. Um, but anything that's really book related, I try to keep public for anybody who doesn't want to actually friend the account.
right,
Then they could follow that account and still see whatever book related things I post there. There, I believe I'm just Lilian Oake. I mean, easy to find there.
right.
Then I have Twitter, which I have my little Twitter spurts where I jump on and I tweet for 2 hours, and then you don't see me for another month or so. But that would be LF_Oak.
Hmm.
And besides that, I do have a YouTube channel I haven't really been active on. I want to get back to that. I just don't know when. I don't know. I can't seem to really put aside that time to sit and make videos. So, I mean,
Right.
unless I get back to just making them in the car. But I might just have to turn to that because I feel like I'm on the road so much sometimes. But besides that, I have my website, which is lfoakbooks.com. My blog is there, and I mean, there's, I guess, the links to everything is there, really. So I'm just Google me. I'm everywhere.
Google me and sign up
Googleable.
for the newsletter.
Yes, Beneath the Oak Tree. That actually, I'm very surprised at how quickly that's kind of shot up there. I do just authors worth mentioning, which is really just sharing, authors that I like or that are cool people that I even if I haven't really read their work or something. I think I might turn that into doing interviews with authors or something. Um, and then it's just a lot of promotions for friends or anybody really on Facebook having new releases or freebies or something. Each newsletter is really full of just free books or promos. So, but it's been fun. I'm surprised at how many people have jumped onto that bandwagon. So
Yeah, that's
it's
because
growing
people love
fast.
that. They love free books and free promos and all. They love that stuff.
Yeah,
So
I didn't even
that's
really
why I
think
mentioned
about
it.
it. I was just sort of like, I'm gonna write my, I guess what I would have put in a blog post into a newsletter. And I went online one day and I was like, hey, everybody who has a freebie or promo, share your links
Yeah.
with me and I'll see if it's part of, geared towards my audience and I'll share it. And I mean, what this last time I had, I mean, I don't even know, 40 or 50 different, you know, people jumping on trying to get into the newsletter. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, I could get used to this.
Yeah. That's why I mentioned it, because it is such a popular newsletter. And if you want to find out about new authors or new books or deals on her books, on Lilian's books, you should definitely sign up for the newsletter.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, I'm going to actually be posting all of the links to her social media. So if you don't want to type out Lilian Oake yourself, you don't have to.
Yes, you're allowed to be lazy.
Yeah, if you're allowed to be lazy. And thank you so much for watching. And I'm going to
Thank you
finish.
for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And talk to you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.